'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the casa, not a creature was stirring. Caramba, ¿qué pasa?
Los niños were tucked away in their camas, some in long underwear, some in pijamas.
While hanging the stockings con mucho cuidado, in the hopes that old Santa would feel obligado
to bring all the children, both buenos y malos, a nice batch of dulces and other regalos.
Outside in the yard, there arose un gran grito, and I jumped to my feet like a frightened cabrito.
I ran to the window and looked out afuera. And who in the world do you think that it era?
Saint Nick in a sleigh and a big red sombrero rojo came dashing along like a loco bombero.
And pulling his sleigh instead of venados were 8 little burros approaching volando.
I watched as they came, and this quaint little hombre was shouting and whistling and calling by nombre.
A Pancho, a Pepe, a Cuco, a Beto, a Choto, a Chopo, Maruco, y Nieto.
Then standing erect, with his hands on his pecho, he flew to the top of our very own techo.
With his round little belly like a bowl of jalea,
he struggled to squeeze down our old chimenea, then huffing and puffing at last in our sala.
With soot smeared all over his red suit de gala, he filled all the stockings with live regalos.
None for the niños that had been very malos.
Then chuckling aloud, seeming very contento,
he turned like a flash and was gone como el viento. And I heard him exclaim, "Y esto es verdad."
Merry Christmas to all.
Y Feliz Navidad. Buenos días y bienvenidos a todos. Este es el segundo servicio bilingüe en Cedar Lane este año. Good morning and welcome to the second bilingual service this year at Cedar Lane. I'm the Reverend Katie Romano Griffin. My pronouns are she or ella, and I am one of your ministers. Hello, Santa.
Hola.
Hola.
Good morning. I'm St. Nicholas. My pronouns are he, him, they, them. And for today, I'm one of Cedar Lane's ministers. Please know that whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are from, and joining us today, and whatever your beliefs, your gender identity, disability, immigration, or documentation status, you are welcome here at Cedar Lane. And we thank you for taking the risk to worship with us this morning.
El servicio de hoy es especial porque estamos compartiendo con ustedes las diferentes formas en que celebramos las fiestas en las comunidades Latinx de Norte, Centro y Sur de América. Today's service is special because we're sharing with you different ways that we celebrate the holidays in Latinx communities throughout North, Central, and South America. We have several guest speakers today who are in person, and some who've sent in their message from around the world. Por favor, denle una cálida bienvenida a Cedar Lane. Please give a warm Cedar Lane welcome to the Reverend Jorge Espinel of Cali, Colombia, Julica Hermann de la Fuente of First Universalist in Minneapolis, Dr. Eduardo Hernandez, and Iris de la Paz.
The Latinx community is not a monolith. It is incredibly diverse, and today is a day of celebrating our multiculturalism, being present to each other's traditions and cultures and listening with our hearts. Some pieces of the service are in both English and Spanish, and some in just English or Spanish, and others are Spanglish all the way. So we invite you, as you go through this experience today, to quiet your mind, to open your hearts to the words flowing through you, and notice the feelings of the words as they reach your heart. And let that feeling be the translation your UU mind may be asking for.
La comunidad Latinx no es un monolito. Somos increíblemente diversos. Hoy es un día para celebrar nuestro multiculturalismo, estar presentes en las tradiciones de los demás y escuchar con el corazón. Algunas partes del servicio están tanto en inglés como en español, algunos solo inglés o español y otros son en Spanglish hasta el final. Te invitamos a aquietar tu mente, estar abierto a las palabras que fluyen a través de ti. Notar el sentimiento de las palabras cuando llegan a tu corazón. Deje que ese sentimiento sea la traducción de que su mente puede estar pidiendo. Before we continue with our service, we have just a few announcements.
If you're joining us for the first time today, or if you have been attending for a while and are interested in becoming a member of this religious community, quirky as it may be, please reach out to our membership coordinator, Nicole Singer, at membership@cedarlane.org. We would love to have you join us on this journey. We want to take a moment today to celebrate the work of our Afghan refugee support team, which has been doing incredible work, having completed its goal in just 1.5 months to set up 2 full apartments for 2 newly arrived Afghan families, the Alakazai family and the Nawabi family, all because of the extraordinary response, the generosity, and the volunteering by nearly 100 members and friends of Cedar Lane. So if you contributed in any way to this effort, if you're present in person, would you mind raising your hand? And if you, all right, wow.
Wow.
And if you're online, if you would post in the chat, I helped. We appreciate that. Thank you so much for your support in making this happen. Let's give everyone a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you.
Multi-platform services are happening on Christmas Eve at 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. 4 p.m. is our multi-generational service, pageants, carols, candle lighting, and special music. A jazz trio will be led by Cedar Lane's own Steve Jones. At 9 p.m., we have a UU Lessons and Carols service with readings, carols, and music by the Cedar Lane Choir and the Bell Choir. Registration for in-person at both services is required.
And on Sunday, December 26th, let's get cozy, come dressed in our pajamas, and bring your favorite poetry for our 3rd annual PJs and Poetry service right here at Cedar Lane at 11 a.m. with Reverend Dana Edwards.
Abramos nuestro corazón a este servicio, reconociendo que estamos en la tierra tradicional del pueblo Nacotchtank. Honramos el pasado, el presente y el futuro de los pueblos indígenas y la tierra misma. Let us open our hearts to this service by acknowledging that we are on the traditional land of the Nacotchtank people. We honor the indigenous people of this land, present, past, and future, as well as the land itself. And we remember those who were enslaved and worked this land without choice or reward. And we remember all who've gone before us, whose vision and labor helped create and sustain this religious community. It is in this spirit we gather. In this spirit we begin. Let us greet and welcome each other in person and in the chat.
Good morning. Buenos días. Soy Kimberly Clarkson, la asociada de adoración para el servicio de hoy. Mis pronombres son ella, she. Mientras Connor McCrickard enciende el cáliz, háganos saber en el chat de dónde va a encender su cáliz. I'm Kimberly Clarkson, the worship associate for today's service. My pronouns are she, ella. As Connor McCrickard lights the chalice, please let us know in the chat where you are lighting your chalice from. Honramos este tiempo de oscuridad estacional o del alma, al cual ahora descendemos con la esperanza de encontrar tiempo para la reflexión tranquila y la alegre celebración. De nuestras vidas diferentes traemos historias, tradiciones y rituales. Somos gente de fe con diferentes creencias. Llenamos la oscuridad con las luces de muchas fes, las cuales nos brindan calor, iluminan la noche y se convierten en símbolos de esperanza para el futuro. Celebramos las luces que se encienden en la oscuridad y hacemos una pausa en ella para celebrar la luz que anima nuestras tradiciones. Nos reunimos para regocijarnos como familia, como amigos y como comunidad. Trayendo luz a la oscuridad, nos unimos y encontramos compañía. Que esta luz que ahora compartimos nos ilumine en los días de oscuridad. Que las velas que encendemos nos recuerden que no estamos solos y que iluminen nuestra senda de retorno hacia la luz, calentando nuestros corazones con esperanza para la mañana y gratitud por el presente.
We honor the time of darkness that we descend into, whether of season or soul. May we find time of quiet reflection and of joyous celebration. We bring stories, traditions, and rituals with us from our diverse lives. We are people of faith with many beliefs. We fill the darkness with lights of many faiths. These lights warm us, illuminate the night, and become symbols of hope for the future. We celebrate the lights that are kindled into the darkness. We pause in the darkness to celebrate the light within all our traditions. We come together to rejoice within each other as family, friends, and community. It is in bringing light to the darkness we are united and find companionship. May the light we share be with us in days of darkness. May the candles we burn remind us that we are not alone. May they light our way back into the light and warm our hearts with hope for tomorrow and gratefulness for today.
Growing up Roman Catholic, I had no idea that one day I would call myself a Unitarian Universalist. My parents, y mi abuelos, were firm in claiming their Catholic beliefs. The beliefs that they were most passionate about are intrinsically tied to our UU principles, such as taking care of one another, treating everybody with respect and dignity, finding ways to bring out equity, and elevating the voices from the global majority. While mi familia held these values year-round, they became more prominent at the beginning of the season of giving. With Christmas being a time filled with so much joy and annual traditions, the memories through the years of my childhood all blur together. So this story takes place algunas veces and many times between 1993 and 2007. Christmas is a very special time for my family. As many other people do, we associate Christmas with the act of giving and bringing joy, felicidad, into others' lives. Every year, our holiday season started in a way that exemplified our values, the holiday festival, an event mi abuelita Nermi Moran founded while she was a Spanish teacher at an affluent high school in New Jersey. This event continued past her retirement as it has been going strong for over 45 years. Here, the high school invited children from a predominantly Hispanic and low-income school to enjoy a holiday experience. Even last year, the high school connected with the elementary school to drop off winter gear and presents. On this day, there was a holiday play with Christmas carols in English y en español, and a bilingual Santa. One of the most important parts of the day was ensuring that each child got un abrigo, gorro, guantes, y un bufanda, a coat, hat, gloves, and a scarf. A need that the elementary school expressed early on in their relationship. Each child was matched up with 2 high schoolers, and at least one of them could speak Spanish. There was an opportunity to exchange culture, language, and warm, fuzzy feelings. The children were made to feel seguro, amado, y aceptado, safe, loved, and accepted. The children received lots of presents, and there were opportunities for them to make crafts or win prizes. The most heartening experience was that most of the time, the children anticipated giving these little cositas, little items, to their friends and family to spread the joy. It was a good reminder that Christmas is about making other people happy. Of course, the next major holiday event en la Moreni de la Paz Casa was Noche Buena, Christmas Eve. Leading up to the day, there was usually a lot of buzzing around the house, making sure everything was ready for the whole family and more to come together. Oftentimes, both sides of the family would all come together at one house, including my cousin's grandparents and their cousins, primos that were not directly related to me. At my house, there were dusty rose velour couches, a Yule log fire on the TV, a prominently displayed wooden nativity scene, and a Christmas tree decorated with joyful abandonment, with ornaments made in school, ones that celebrated diferente y importando eventos de la vida, y otros that were just funny and cute. Somehow, every year we managed to get new ones, and each ornament found a place on the tree, even if it was buried deep in the branches. We also had my grandma Nena's famous coquito. The reason her coquito is famous among the family is the manner in which she prepared it. When it came time to add the rum, she would line up a few shot glasses on the counter. She would put 2 in the mix, and then give herself 1. And she would repeat this process until she hit the right ratio, about 4 times. Usually people started arriving at around 3 p.m. And even though we didn't eat until at least 9, we had so much family coming over, we would have to set up multiple folding tables and chairs. There were so many people in the house that we would have to keep the sliding door to the deck open to keep us from overheating. Like many Christian Americans, we always had a Christmas ham. And some years, we even had a whole pig, un puerco entero, cooked in un caja china. My sister vividly remembers the time that there was an apple in the pig's mouth. We would eat, drink, sing, and talk way too much, and for far too long. Eventually, some family members would trickle out for Misa de Gallo, midnight mass, or just go home to prepare for a week of seeing each other, exchanging gifts, and eating leftovers. Christmas would come, and every year, my siblings and I donned matching pajamas and sang a song while coming down the stairs. Later that day, inevitably, mis abuelitos made their way to our house, and we would spend the next few days going to other cousins and family houses. By New Year's, we would have made all our rounds to everyone's house and finally get the chance to rest. With Christmas time coming to an end, there is one more part of our celebration that is among my favorites. Remember I mentioned that prominently displayed wooden nativity scene? In my family set, there's Joseph, Mary, baby Jesus, a little lamb, a donkey, un burrito, and the three wise kings. La Dia de los Tres Reyes, or Epiphany, happens on January 6th, and it's celebrated the day that the three kings visited baby Jesus with gifts. Like the little family in our set, with nobody left to visit, my family got to be together, just us. It was a nice way to wind down after toda la locaria that surrounds the holidays. In Cuba, La Dia de los Tres Reyes is celebrated by children putting out sus zapatos, their shoes, outside the house, filled with hay for the camels, and waking up to little gifts and treats. Since my siblings and I already got a stocking filled con cositas y dulces with little gifts and treats on Christmas, my mom took on a twist of this tradition. The night before, instead of leaving our shoes outside, we would leave out a plate of carrots for the camels and milk and cookies por los reyes, the three kings. In the morning, my siblings and I would rush to the stairs and wake up to new shoes. Claro, obviously. We always wore them to school that day. Then that night, as a family, we would take down our tree and decorations and put them away for the next year, but keeping our sense of duty and compassion for others in the forefront. Thank you.
Buenos dias, good morning, and greetings to all my relations. My name is Eduardo Hernandez, and I'm an at-large member of the Board of Trustees here at Cedar Lane. I'm a Latino and Mexican ancestry who was born and raised in California. My memories of the holiday season as a child and a young adult are many family gatherings with aunts and uncles and cousins, midnight Catholic masses, breaking of piñatas, parties which we call posadas in Spanish, exchange of gifts, and of course, a lot of good Mexican food. Now that I'm in the autumn of my years, a Unitarian, I observe different spiritual practices and different celebrations other than the Christian traditions that I was raised with. Now my spiritual focus is more upon the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, which is Tuesday, December 21st this year. For Indigenous people throughout the Americas, observations of the winter solstice are about nature, about universal laws, about spirituality, about the interconnectedness of all things, including the sun, the moon, the plants, the trees, and the animals. Many thousands of years before Christmas, Native people throughout the Americas celebrated the winter solstice. And these celebrations continue into the present day. Winter solstice continues to have deep spiritual meaning for Indigenous communities here in the United States, in Mexico, in Central America, and parts of South America. Let me offer two examples this morning. At Chichen Itza, in the Maya-speaking regions of southern Mexico, people gather at the winter solstice to participate in ceremonies, much as they have done over hundreds of years. They offer prayers and give thanks to the sun, which they revere as a god that was important and provided sustenance to their communities. In Cusco, Peru, a major celebration called the Inti Raymi is held by the Quechua-speaking descendants of the Inca. Of course, I know that the winter solstice occurs in June in the Southern Hemisphere, but it's the same dynamic. Inti, the sun god, was an important deity, and the solstice was a sign of the benefits that he provided. During the period of the ancient Inca, the Inti Raymi was the most important ceremony celebrated in that mountain capital of Cusco. On that day, they also acknowledged the Pachamama, the Earth Mother. The Spanish colonizers and their Catholic priests banned the Inti Raymi in the 1500s and all other religious practices which were considered to be pagan. However, the Inti Raymi, the winter solstice celebration, has returned to Cusco, returned in the 1940s, and now continues to be a major celebration. In recent years, winter solstice celebrations are becoming more popular among some Latinos here in the United States who seek, as people that I know in my home state of California, who seek deeper spirituality other than that is offered by traditional religion. These people are becoming much more attuned to our indigenous ancestors and to the celebrations and to their vision of the natural world. But beyond the spiritual importance of the winter solstice, it also has an important political significance for indigenous population. To these communities who have withstood the European invasion, conquest, and colonization, for these communities, the winter solstice is being acknowledged as an act of decolonization, an opportunity for them to reconnect to the natural world. These communities continue to fight to protect, to conserve our natural world, and environmentalists throughout the world are increasingly acknowledging their importance in that struggle. So what am I going to do this winter solstice? Well, I'll be in California, and I'm not quite sure where, and I'm not quite sure with whom, but I plan to take time out and to give thanks to the Creator for the natural world, for the trees, the plants, the animals, the bears, and acknowledge my responsibility in preserving, in protecting the natural environment. I also plan to light some sage. And smudge myself and others around me and pray in the four sacred directions, north to south, the east and the west. I also plan to offer prayers of gratitude to my ancestors as I reflect upon the last year and contemplate the upcoming year. I want to share a meal of good Mexican food with some friends or family, and hopefully eat some tamales, which will remind me of my childhood. And I'll be reading some prayers, like the one that I want to share with you this morning. Oh, great beauty, Mother Earth, Pachamama, Madre Tierra, may we soon come to recognize your beauty, your generosity, your value, your vulnerability. May we learn to savor and to serve you. May we once again return to your wise and dedicated ways. You, life giver, the sustainer, most precious gift. Thank you and have a nice holiday season.
Let us center ourselves and enter into this moment breathing deeply, calling upon all the sources of love that are within, among, and around us. We gather in this sanctuary of caring across time and space, a place set aside as a sanctuary amid the many challenges of life, a center from which we may gather strength to face these challenges with courage and hope, faith, and love. In this time of reflection, we lift up those in our community and beyond who are living through significant passages, the small and extraordinary milestones of life. Within our Cedar Lane community, we grieve the passing of longtime beloved member Frances Martin on December 11th. She was 97. We hold in our hearts Reverend Katie and her family as they mourn the passing of her beloved grandmother, Josephine Casabene, in Florida on Wednesday. We hold in our hearts our siblings at UU Rockville as they navigate the sudden and unexpected death of their intern minister, Matthew Taylor, on December 8th. Our caring extends beyond Cedar Lane to others whose lives are lost and whose lives are impacted by violence, calamities, and the COVID-19 pandemic in our nation and in our world. We hold in our hearts the more than 800,000 people who have died from COVID in the U.S. and their loved ones. Let us hold these friends of ours and companions in the world and all the joys and sorrows we hold in our hearts in the stillness that silence brings. As we enter the silence together, those who are mourning a loss or marking the anniversary of a loss of a loved one are invited to rise in body and or in spirit or share their names in the chat.
Esta noche, Jesús, quien mira tu rostro se alegra y canta con gozo tu amor. Hoy hemos sido testigos, escondido en un niño estás. Eres la luz que viene a brillar y encender nuestra oscuridad. Canta el cielo tu gloria, Señor. Se detiene el tiempo solo para ti, para contemplarte, para arrodillarse, para adorarte a ti, oh Jesús. Alto una estrella ilumina, la luz a tu humilde por del cielo tu gloria, Señor, se detiene el tiempo solo para ti, para contemplarte, para arrodillarse, para adorarte a ti. Oh Jesús.
En Colombia, las celebraciones de Navidad empiezan oficialmente el 7 de diciembre, con el Día de las Velitas. Este es un día donde todas las familias se reúnen y prenden velas al frente de sus casas con sus vecinos y amigos. Dice la tradición que este es el día en que el arcángel Gabriel le anunció a la Madre María que iba a ser la Madre de Jesucristo. Dice la tradición que María viene en camino, y que estas velas que están siendo puestas en fila le muestran el camino a ella para llegar al sitio donde van a ser su hijo. El brillo de las velas es también una forma de celebrar la luz y el amor que la Madre María le trae a este mundo. Cuando niño a mí me encantaba esta celebración, pero nunca le puse mucha atención a su significado. Como joven adulto me alejé de todas las cosas religiosas y por años y años nunca volví a celebrar este día. Pero en esta etapa de mi vida, como adulto, como padre, como ministro, el camino me ha vuelto a llevar al sitio que dejé hace tantos años. A un sitio donde necesito una reconexión con la tradición católica con la que crecí. Una reconexión con sus símbolos, una reconexión con sus regalos de manera consciente. Así que hoy estoy preparando mi celebración del Día de las Velitas, aunque esta vez, este año, lo estoy haciendo de una manera diferente, porque estoy celebrando con intención, con conciencia, reconociendo y reclamando lo que es mío de esta tradición. Así que, ¿qué voy a celebrar este día? Primero, celebro la presencia de la Madre María como una manifestación femenina del gran misterio, de ese gran misterio que yo llamo Dios. Celebro su presencia en la vida de muchos de los pacientes a los que la Madre María está acompañando en sus habitaciones, en el hospital, y que acuden a ella en tiempos de necesidad. Celebro su luz, celebro su energía, celebro su presencia en mi vida y en la de mi familia. Celebro a mis ancestros por los que hoy estoy acá. Celebro su presencia en mi hogar, donde está siempre presente en el cuarto de mi hija. Celebro en este día a mi familia, que son el centro de mi vida. Celebro a mis amigos y celebro con mis amigos, que son mi familia escogida y que realmente hacen que mi vida tenga sentido. Pero por encima de todo esto, celebro a mi comunidad. Esa comunidad diversa, diferentes creencias, diferentes maneras de ver el mundo, que se junta en esta celebración para celebrar con risas, en compañía, con abrazos. Ya que esa comunidad, esas risas, esas luces, esos abrazos, en esas expresiones de amor reconozco clara y fuertemente la presencia de Dios, que está representada este día, el 7 de diciembre, por la Madre María.
Cuando das sin esperar, cuando quieres de verdad, cuando brindas perdón en lugar de rencor, hay paz en tu corazón. cuando sientes compasión del amigo y su dolor, cuando miras la estrella que oculta la niebla, hay paz en tu corazón, más allá del rencor, de las lágrimas y el dolor, brilla la luz del amor dentro de cada corazón. Ilusión, Navidad, con tus sueños a volar. Siembra paz, brilla amor, que el mundo entero pide más. Cuando brota una oración, cuando aceptas el error, cuando encuentras lugar para la libertad, hay una sonrisa más. Cuando llega la razón y se va la incomprensión, cuando quieres luchar por un ideal, hay una sonrisa más. Hay un rayo de sol a través del cristal. Hay un mundo mejor cuando aprendes a amar. Más allá del rencor, de las lágrimas y el dolor, brilla la luz del amor dentro de cada corazón. Ilusión, Navidad, con tus sueños a volar. Siembra paz, brilla amor, que el mundo entero pide más, pide más, pide más, pide más.
One of the themes for the holiday season is giving. And healthy giving is one in which both the giver and the receiver are blessed. For whatever is given in joy and received with gratitude. Santa Claus, after all, is overweight, smokes a pipe, and lives on a diet of cookies and whole milk. Though Katie recently informed me that as part of his commitment to fight climate change, St. Nick has gone vegan and has been eating some of Reverend Katie's delicious vegan cookies and drinking almond milk, which is why he has lost some weight as well. But how does he do it? It's probably all that giving and caring and those people depending on him that I feel keeps him such a happy and healthy old elf. Not to mention, Santa being undocumented and being able to cross all borders without being stopped or detained. That's just my own little thing. So this holiday season, if this religious community has touched you in special ways, we invite you to consider giving generously to sustain the mission and ministry of this religious community, because the health of this community depends on you. And this week, we're sharing our offering with CASA. CASA is the largest grassroots immigrant advocacy organization in the Mid-Atlantic region, organizing over 115,000 lifetime immigrant, Latinx, and working class members. It provides critical services to immigrants and working class families and advocates for their rights. And at the center of every CASA policy is the guiding principle that every person deserves dignity and respect, no matter where they are from, or the color of their skin, or the money in their pocket. Now, during the pandemic, CASA has provided over $2 million in aid through direct cash benefits and food distribution to thousands of immigrant and frontline working class families in need. And at the local, state, and federal level, CASA has continued to fight for immigrant rights and called on the administration and Congress for immigration reform, including providing a pathway to citizenship for DACA holders, TPS holders, farm workers, and essential workers. So your gift of whatever amount today, given however you choose, online giving, or by text, or QR code, or PayPal, or sending a check, or dropping your check in the golden bowl after the service, your gift will provide grassroots community services that are essential to building a life and a better future for immigrants and the working class in our community. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Navidad es Navidad, toda la tierra se alegra y se entristece la mar. Marinero, ¿a dónde vas? Deja tus redes y reza. Mira la estrella pasar. Marinero, marinero, haz en tu barca un altar. Marinero, marinero, porque llegó Navidad. Marinero, marinero, haz en tu barca un altar. Marinero, marinero, porque llegó Navidad. Noches blancas de hospital, dejad el llanto esta noche, que el niño está por llegar. Caminante sin hogar, ven a mi casa esta noche, que mañana Dios dirá. Caminante, caminante, deja tu forja llegar. Caminante, caminante, porque llegó Navidad. Caminante, caminante, deja tu alforja llenar. Caminante, caminante, porque llegó Navidad. Ven, soldado, vuelve ya para curar tus heridas, para prestarte la paz. Navidad es Navidad, toda la tierra se alegra y se entristece la mar. Caminante, caminante, deja tu alforja llenar. Caminante, caminante, porque llegó Navidad. Caminante, caminante, deja tu alforja llenar. Caminante, caminante, porque llegó Navidad.
Hola familia, Un saludo cariñoso en este tiempo de fiestas, este final de año. Nos acercamos a terminar el 2021. Espero que este mensaje los encuentre bien, contentos, calientitos, recuperándose de este año tan difícil, tantos retos que hemos tenido. Espero que estén con su familia, con sus queridos, con sus amigos y amigas, que estén todos ustedes bien. Hoy quiero compartirles una reflexión acerca de las posadas, la tradición mexicana que nos ayuda a recordar lo importante que es compartir y lo importante que es ser radicalmente hospitalario. Algunos de ustedes recordarán, y a los que les estoy compartiendo por primera vez les platico, que las posadas es una tradición de fiestas en México que duran 9 días, del 16 al 24 de diciembre, celebrando el peregrinaje de María y José, que estaban buscando asilo para dar para dar a luz al niño Jesús. Y en la tradición en la que empezó en el siglo XVI, en esta tradición, se usa el canto, la comida, la fiesta para celebrar lo que tenemos y lo que podemos compartir los unos con los otros. Entonces es como una fiesta progresiva, ¿verdad? Es un proceso en el que va un grupo de gentes a una casa y cantan afuera de la casa, cantan y dicen: en el nombre del cielo os pido posada, que no puede andar mi esposa amada. O sea, necesitamos asilo, necesitamos un lugar para que este bebé pueda nacer. Y lo que pasa es que en cada casa al principio las personas dicen: no, aquí no es mesón, aquí no hay lugar, sigan adelante, aquí no son bienvenidos. Entonces se van a la siguiente casa, pero las personas que estaban en esa casa también se unen y ellos vuelven a cantar y vuelven a pedir asilo y vuelven a pedir hospedaje. Y en la siguiente casa también les dicen que no, y siguen y se va haciendo más grande y más grande y más grande el grupo hasta que llegan a la casa en donde va a ser la fiesta. Y en esa casa donde está la piñata y los tamales y todos los dulces y toda la celebración de estas fiestas, el atole. Los niños, los abuelos, porque es multigeneracional, ¿verdad? Tan bonita esa fiesta. Ahí, cuando llegan a esa casa, ya está todo planeado para que a la hora de pedir asilo, las personas adentro de la casa abren las puertas y dicen: adelante, adelante vengan. Entre santos peregrinos, reciban este rincón, que aunque es pobre la morada, se los doy de corazón. De corazón compartimos lo que tenemos, aunque sea poquito, aunque sea un rinconcito en un establo. Lo que tengo es tuyo. Y no te voy a dejar solo, no te vas a quedar con hambre ni con frío. Pero no nada más un asilo material o corporal, sino también un asilo espiritual, un asilo emocional. No estás solo, no te vamos a dejar solo. Aquí eres bienvenido. Y esa es una tradición tan importante y tan bonita que compartimos en la cultura mexicana y en los valores de unitarias universalistas, porque esa es nuestro compromiso con la hospitalidad radical, el decir: sí, adelante, bienvenidos, bienvenidos todos. Lo que es nuestro es suyo. Y este acto de hospitalidad requiere que el corazón esté abierto, requiere fuerza, requiere vulnerabilidad, requiere un compromiso. Y es importante recordar que a veces nos toca dar asilo y a veces es importante pedir asilo, a veces es importante pedir y recibir lo que necesitamos. Y para las dos cosas se necesita fuerza, para pedir y para ofrecer. Y es un ciclo muy bonito. Mientras más ofrecemos, más tenemos que ofrecer. Y mientras más recibimos, más se nos abre el corazón, más podemos ofrecer a otros. Qué bonita tradición. Qué bueno que tenemos este recordatorio en este tiempo, porque ha sido un año difícil y es una época difícil en donde no tenemos esta hospitalidad en muchos lugares. Sobre todo nosotros que somos inmigrantes, no nos reciben con hospitalidad. Es importante recordar este compromiso y recordar que va a ser juntos, con todos nuestros recursos, que vamos a salir adelante. Yo espero que en este tiempo ustedes reciban esa capacidad de ofrecer y de recibir. Que así sea. Amén.
Campana sobre campana y sobre campana una, asómate a la ventana, verás a un niño en la cuna. Belén, campanas de Belén, que los ángeles tocan, que nuevas me traéis. Recogido tu rebaño, ¿a dónde vas, pastorcito? Voy a llevar al portal requesón, manteca y vino. Belén, campanas de Belén, que los ángeles tocan, que nuevas me traéis. Campana sobre campana y sobre campana dos, asómate a la ventana, están haciendo el amor. Belén, campanas de Belén, que los ángeles tocan, que nuevas me traéis. Caminando a medianoche, donde caminas, pastor, le llevo al niño que nace, como a Dios mi corazón. Belén, campanas de Belén, que los ángeles tocan, que nuevas me traéis.
If you were desperately thumbing through the hymnal in your mind and you were wondering how that could be hymn number 44, this is the hymnal that it is from. It's Las Voces del Camino, which is a UU hymnal, but all of these hymns are in Spanish, and I hope that someday this is among our collection. We have journeyed far and wide today. We had a lot of land to cover in North and South and Central America, so thank you for hanging in, and I know that we still haven't covered it all, but I think you are getting a sense that in the Latinx community, we are not un monolito. We are not a monolith, and I know that even within this beloved community, there are differences in how each of us present today celebrates this holiday season, and it is those differences that make us beautiful and make us a strong and wonderful and complicated community. And I'd like to share a little story with all of you of what it was like for me growing up as a multi. And I know some of us here are bi or multi, maybe bisexual or biracial or you're multiracial. multi-ability. Maybe you come from a family that's multi-class. So you might relate to some of these experiences, but before we get too far into that, I want you to hold in your mind, or maybe if you feel like shouting out, a favorite Christmas movie or book or story. You can shout it out in the chat or in person. Yep, I hear a few different ones in there. And yes, A Christmas Carol, written by Unitarian Charles Dickens, is certainly a very popular Christmas tale. It is a fantastical story of cruelty, compassion, and redemption. But I think my family experience was a little bit more like another Charles Dickens tale, A Tale of Two Cities, and it begins like this. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness, it was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity, it was the season of light, it was the season of darkness, it was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. We had everything before us and we had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven, we were all going direct another way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on its being received, for good or evil, in the superlative degree of comparison only. This story by Dickens has complex themes, with some of them being explorations of abuse of power and authority, sacrifice, salvation, and the need for something to end so something else might begin. And I think my childhood was a bit like that. Pieces of my identity were formed through explorations of abuse of power and authority, sacrifice, salvation, and letting ideas of separation, my own identity, my own DNA, die so that I might live maybe a little bit differently than my ancestors, but completely nonetheless. Now, in one city called the Romano city, the languages spoken were New York English. This means we said things like sneaka and dressa. And this is perhaps the language with which I am most fluent, and you'll recognize it when I'm tired or upset. The Romano city was also fluent in random Italian swear words that I won't repeat. And these words were the last vestiges of the Italian language that my father's grandparents spoke when they immigrated to the U.S. On Christmas Eve, my family and I would arrive with whatever gifts that we could afford for my cousins, and we'd quickly join the melee of cousins in the chaos of the basement of my Aunt Marianne and Uncle Jim's house. There were snacks and soda for us all to gorge on. There was a Christmas tree with all these perfect ornaments and tinsel arranged just so. And the noise level in this city was about 30 or 40 people, and there were about 30 or 40 people present. So it was a stable noise level, including all the children that were packed in the basement. The most played songs on the radio included anything by Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby's White Christmas, and Little Drummer Boy, to name a few. And we younger cousins would carve out a section of the basement and we'd practice our dancing, our jazz, tap, and ballet moves. My snarly, rebellious older cousins would occasionally take over the radio and play some Styx or Foreigner, maybe some Clapton. This is where my love of that kind of music began. And a steely look for my Aunt Marianne was all that it took for Sinatra to croon again. Santa, played by my Uncle Jim and later my cousin Jimmy, would appear at midnight to dole out gifts. And the thing was, we had to catch our gifts. So no one ever gave anything breakable, but one year my mom started baking bread early to give to everyone, so she had kept it in the freezer and it was still partially frozen. There were a few bruises that Christmas. Sadly, some visible ones to go with the invisible ones. That little basement was filled with more than people. It was filled with love, so much love. But it was also filled with microaggressions and things that even now I realize were racial slurs that were hurled at me by family members that loved me deeply and had prejudices, and they didn't know how to be in community, and the adults around me didn't know how to stop them. The family both claimed me and pushed me away. It was like I had the joy of a gift of a beautiful handmade braided egg bread hurled at me, still partially frozen, bruising me with each receipt. Beloved community hurts sometimes. And it requires us to have skills to stop the hurts as they're happening and to make them right. I have the language now as an adult to call my loved ones into covenant, to do it for myself and for my children and for all of the other multiracial children now a part of our family. And I'll say that at times it was lonely in that crowd, but every once in a while on the radio, Sinatra would fade and we would hear Feliz Navidad. My snarly older cousins would rock out in a metal way, and my little cousins and I, we would dance in whatever way we felt like. And in that moment, cultures would collide, and I would feel like I belonged. That song was a bridge for me. And my child brain glimpsed in those moments the possibilities of what I would later learn is beloved community. Now, en la ciudad de Casabene, in the city of Casabene, hablamos español, italiano, inglés, Nueva York Spanglish, y Spitiliano. So the languages spoken were Spanish, Italian, English, New York Spanglish, and Spitiliano, which is a combination pretty much of everything. Hay 30 personas, so about 30 people, and it felt like and sounded like 300. The shoes are fabulous, and if you're a woman, the minimum heel height for entry is 4 inches, unless you're abuelita. Drinks are water, soda, Malbec. Don't try to bring anything else in. And cafecito after dinner. Crimes in this city were crimes of fashion. One was my tia's disastrous outfits. Lo siento, tia. We had tons of cousins, and let me tell you, the cafecito and the cards were played all night long. There was always a space for us to dance. There was tango and salsa and the music. Oh, the music. There was opera and tango, and it's glorious. There was the occasional flying sandalia or chancla when a child was misbehaving. Mi gente, you know what I mean. There were a mess of ornaments on the tree placed by tiny hands imperfectly, and that tree bursted with color. There was food, nonstop, as if the kitchen was endless. And I would get to spend some time with my abuelita in the kitchen making sweet empanadas, the only kind that we fry in our family. And my hands still move like hers when I make those empanadas. I get my love of cooking from her, and I will undoubtedly spend hours, no matter how busy I am, in the kitchen every Navidad for the rest of my life because it brings me joy to cook for my family, just like it brought her joy. And you know what? No matter how much I ate, I remember family saying, ¿No quieres más? As they would shove more on my plate. La niña está flaca. We were always too skinny for the family. Everyone seemed to be talking in all of the languages, often at the same time, not listening to anyone, just sort of talking over each other, and laughter would always fill my ears. We opened presents on Noche Buena because for us, Noche Buena, Christmas Eve, is Christmas. My husband and I, we don't disagree about much, but we disagree about this one every year. For him, it's Christmas Day. And I'm like, no, it's Christmas Eve. Christmas Day is just a continuation of the party that goes straight on through January 6th. On Noche Buena, the baby would be uncovered in the nativity. The cafecito and cards, as I mentioned, would run all night. We could stay up as late as we wanted. And in this city, I was loved. But I also didn't speak enough Spanish or Italian to really keep up with everyone, and my cousin Anthony could only translate so fast. I was too American at times, chastised for forgetting my roots, my culture, and my practices that we needed to fight to keep alive. And then not American enough in others when I was encouraged to fit in and work harder, but don't shine too much. Stay safe. I was both claimed and not claimed by my loved ones. And yet, when Feliz Navidad was played, I could attempt tango. I could rock out or dance jazz. And the family would all be dancing and singing in their own way. And I knew that no matter how I danced or sang, as long as I moved in that moment, I belonged. And the possibilities for belonging without conditions was possible. As an adult with new language for these moments, I've found ways to integrate all of who I am and communicate through some hard conversations with loved ones that deepen our relationships. And I honestly think that some of my pastoral skills were born in this time period because as someone with multiple identities, depending on who is looking at me and which part of me they see, they relate to me differently. So it's an ever-shifting sands that calls me to be present with people in the moment so I can understand how best to communicate with them and build bridges across space and time. I've learned to really lean in my life to those Feliz Navidad moments, not just to sustain my spirit, but to catapult me forward in this work of building a new world where everyone feels accepted and loved, and where we're all free to be who we're meant to be. When I think of love and heartbreak, the joys and sorrows, the welcome and the bruising of my experiences, I think of the ways in which we fall in and out of covenant in this beloved community. The ways we move forward and fall short, get up, try again. The ways we feel left out and ways we feel included. The work is hard, but we get to develop our complex identities together to nurture that search for truth and meaning while building a more just world. Our differences can make us stronger. It's important to recognize where our privileges intersect with the oppressions of others, and to know that we get to share power, we get to have hard conversations, and to let parts of ourselves that keep love and justice from flourishing, we get to let those die so a new world of love may rise up. I invite you, with the words of the Reverend Teresa Inés Soto, to bring to this community your broken hallelujahs. The Reverend Teresa says, bring your broken hallelujah here. Bring the large one that is beyond repair. Bring the small one that's too soft to share. Bring your broken hallelujah here. I know that people have told you that before you can give, you have to get yourself together, and they overstated the value of perfection by a lot, or they forgot you are the gift. We all bring some broken things, songs and dreams and long-lost hopes, but here and together we reach within. As a community, we begin again, and from the pieces, we build something new. There is work that only you can do. We wait for you. As we move through this holiday season, may you remember to bring your broken hallelujahs here each week to this community. Remember that we all know you are a gift. Remember that we as a community begin again from the pieces of all of our broken hallelujahs, creating something new time and time again. May you also remember to lean in to the Feliz Navidad moments when the music blares and acceptance fills you. Dance with it. Let the possibilities catapult you forward as we build this world we are dreaming about. And wherever you are, I invite you to bring your broken hallelujahs and your joy and possibility with you to this moment, as I invite you to rise and body your spirit as we dance and sing together, claiming a Feliz Navidad moment to catapult us into the season and beyond, as the Cedar Lane Quartet and Chris Morrow offer Feliz Navidad for us. Que así sea, may it be so. Amen, and blessed be.
Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, prospero año y felicidad. Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad, prospero año y felicidad. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of our hearts. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of our hearts.
Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad.
Prospero año y felicidad.
Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad.
Prospero año y felicidad. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of our hearts. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of our hearts. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey, 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 Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Yeah, 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 yeah. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of our hearts. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of our hearts. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of our hearts. Merry Christmas from the bottom of our hearts. Feliz Navidad.
One, two. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Próspero año y felicidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Próspero año y felicidad. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart.
Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Prospero año felicidad.
Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Prospero año y felicidad.
I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart.
Feliz Navidad. Yay! We did it. Okay, let's watch yours, Dominic.